first off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy, the grand predecessor and predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here today to have this opportunity to talk about averting karmic retribution. Actually, yeah, this title is not exactly right, but it probably should have been resolving, but because averting is just part of it. Okay, let's see, because in May, actually, I talked about a topic that was resolving karma, but this is similar. All right. Okay, so this is what Holy Teacher says, right? So we've been around for about 60,000 years in this cycle. Well, this one cycle is like 129,600 years. So it's like about half the cycle. Humans... Okay, so humans have been in an endless cycle of life and death, cycles of karmic blessing and retribution. Lamenting, well, holy teachers, lamenting the lost souls, full of wanton greed and contention, accumulating lifetimes of injustices and faults, which only virtues can repay. Virtues, yeah, maybe, yeah, virtues. Okay, so fortunately, this is the final era, the white era. The universal salvation. Okay, so it's truly an opportune time to perform merits and establish virtues. Do not pass on this chance. So you have to be quick. Seize the moment, seize the day, and brave, and do not fear the difficulties. Only when the karmic debts have been repaid can one transcend the bitter sea and return to the source. Heaven, absolute heaven. So yeah, actually, ever since we've appeared on this world, we've been creating karma. Okay, so, but it wasn't until about, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 7,000 years ago that started the green period when the Tao was made available. Okay, so, but before that, people, although we say people were generally more good, but they still created karma. Okay, so that's why, so we've accumulated a lot of karma over these, this many years and that many lifetimes. Now, so we have to perform merits, right? So Holy Teacher is saying that we have to repay all our karmic debts before we can really transcend, before we can leave. So, however many debts we have, we need to pay them off. So there are many examples of, actually, we see a lot of our seniors who've passed, when they passed away, that they pass away. It's not like, passing away peacefully in their sleep. A lot of them, they either get, cancer, or they die in an accident or something like that. That is to pay off the debts that they may have. Because speaking of this one example, there's a Jingjie Shengu, okay, so Saint Jingjie or Immortal Jingjie. She was a transmitting master, and I forgot, I think she passed away in her 50s, I believe. So she was relatively young. But, she basically, I forgot what it was, I don't know if it was an accident. I don't remember. So maybe some transmitter can correct me if it was an accident or something else. But when she passed away, but we had a reunion sandwriting with her, and then she kind of talked about a little bit about the reasoning why that happened. But basically, she had merits, but she needed it, and basically, if those merits were used to pay off karmic debts, and they probably could have, then maybe she might not have had enough merits left when she went back to heaven. So, and depending on our merits, when we go back, merits. Well, it's really, when we say merits, really what we're talking about is merits and virtue. Okay, so ultimately they're the same. Okay, they're one and the same, or you can think of merits and virtues as kind of two sides of the same coin. So, but it's one. All right. So we need to have merits, virtues. Okay, so to you can say, I don't know, attain a certain position in heaven. All right. So obviously the less that we have, then the lower the position, if you will. So basically there was a choice, said, well, she can go back. Normally, let's say she used her merits to pay off debts, then she wouldn't have this position that she has now. But instead, so if she dies in the way that she did, then basically that debt was paid off, in that manner. Okay, so, but not using the merits. And therefore she retained the merits when she went back. Okay, so this is something, now obviously this is usually not something that we plan on, we can plan on, or we can say, oh yeah, this is how I want to do it. This is how I want usually it's, holy teacher or whoever, some Buddha, or even Lamu, God, to kind of decide, maybe decide for us. So I mean, we don't have to think about that. But the key here is that we do have to pay off our debts. And so we should do our best to pay off the debts, okay, any way we can. All right. Okay, so the Buddha said, right, good deeds result in good karma. Bad deeds result in bad karma. It cannot be without consequence, but rather the consequence has yet to manifest. So sometimes we say, oh, someone committed a crime or committed a sin. And of course, as humans, we want to see instant karma, instant karmic justice, right, take place. But it doesn't happen that way, right? So karma, when we commit the sin or create the karma, basically, it's just planting the seed at that point. Okay, so the consequence will come later. Now, whether that comes this life or in a future life, it all depends. Okay, so it can depend on the previous karma that we already have, right? And so there's no way to predict necessarily when we'll suffer the consequence. But do realize that there will be a consequence. Okay, so there's no, I mean, in other words, we are held accountable, okay, for every action that we take, right? So whether the consequence manifests in this life or in the future, it's best to settle the debts early and prevent a life of fear. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, if we don't know when, now obviously, assuming that we didn't do anything really bad in this life, we don't know what we did in previous lives. So we could be carrying that karma, that karmic debt with us. And it's just that the time isn't right yet for it to manifest, and therefore it's just waiting for the right time. So rather than waiting in fear for what's going to happen next, we should try to do something about it, right? But of course, actually, in this life, we may think that, oh, I'm a good person, but again, killing, right? Eating animals, right? That's breaking, really, that's a sin. So we will have to pay for that later. All right. All right. Okay, so actually in the Chinese, it's talking about these two words here, yin and nie. Okay, so if you kind of separate the two, The yuan is you can translate it as injustice. So what is it? Basically, if we had profited or took from others without their consent, okay, profited from or took from others, or anything that's benefiting ourselves while in the process, we're harming others. So there's lots of things fall into that those categories: killing, stealing. We cause other types of suffering, injuries, etc., etc. and then the other word is, you can translate it treachery. Okay, so basically, it's like a troublemaker. The instigating litigation. Going to court, causing divorce, ruining marriages or other people's reputations, depriving others of love. It's one of those, maybe those, I don't know, it's like a love triangle type thing, or where they kill the other person to get them out of the way, whatever. Okay, so it's treachery. But anyways, these two together, in the Chinese, they use these two words together. So yin ye. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with, and this is basically the karma that well, obviously this is all the bad karma. What we're talking about: bad karma, negative karma, things that we did. Okay, so these are things that potentially, we have to deal with, or the potential manifestation of the consequence, right? If we've done these things in the past, and you really don't know. I mean, looking at us today, if we look at our, consider our character, kind of person we are today, it really has nothing to do. It can be completely different than what we were in previous life. Okay. Okay. So in the Cause and Effect Sutra, it says to know the causes in previous life, just look at the effects in this life. And to know the future effects, look at one's actions in this life. Okay, so it's just saying that, we don't have to guess too much. If we look at our situation in life now and the things that we've had to deal with or what's come up in our lives, then we can kind of have an idea of maybe what we've done previously. And, if we want to know what's going to happen in our future life, then, just look at what we're doing in this life right now. Now, again, it doesn't mean that, the actions, right, when we plant the seeds in one life, that it will necessarily appear or bear fruit in the next life. It could be, 3 lifetimes later, or however many different lifetimes later. It depends on, there are a lot of conditions that have to happen too. Okay, so it's not just, the cause is the primary planting of the seed, but then you need all the conditions to be right for the actual effect. So once you plant the seed, then of course you need all the environmental conditions, water, sun, warmth, all that stuff, so that it'll grow. Okay, so so that's one way to deal with karma is that, if we've already planted the seed, the cause, the result, the effect will be inevitable as long as the conditions are there. So one thing that you can try to do is to affect the conditions so that you don't never have the right conditions for it to manifest. But that may be difficult because some conditions might be out of or maybe most conditions are out of our control. Okay. Okay. So why do we want to avert karmic retribution? It sounds kind of obvious, but if there was no causes, then of course there would be no consequence. Now, obviously, we cannot change the past, so this would be, we want to talk about, well, from now, from this point forward, we want to make sure that we don't create more karma. Okay, so the past karma is already there. The seeds are already planted. Maybe they just haven't borne fruit yet. But we, if we were wise, then we wouldn't be planting any more seeds. Okay, so now, again, so I just mentioned that the conditions have to be right too. Conditions could be, well, for one, I mean, if, let's say, usually the karma, let's say we commit a sin, karma, it usually involves other people, okay, or, other sentient beings. And so if because everyone's life is different, right? So even though, yeah, in one previous lifetime, we were together, right? There was there's some kind of encounter between the two people, let's say, and there was some karma happened there. But and then so in the next lifetime, it's not necessarily the case that both people will for one, they may not necessarily be humans in that next lifetime, and they may not necessarily meet each other. Okay, so there are other things. Now, of course, they don't necessarily have to be. So there's stories of there's this lecturer in Taiwan, right? Let's see. I'm not going to go into details, but basically, he and I think like 3 other people. They were like I don't know, bandits or robbers in a previous life, like 300 years ago. Okay, so and now unfortunately, this who is now the lecturer, he in his previous life, that lifetime, he got greedy, I guess, and he killed the other 3, his 3 accomplices. Okay, so and now. So fast forward 300 years later, so, it's not clear, how many lifetimes passed in between, but at least in the current lifetime, those other, now he's a lecturer. Now the other, or I don't know if he's a lecturer or maybe he's a temple host, but the other 3, they were not, at this current time, they have not reincarnated yet. They're in the underworld. Okay. So perhaps, because of their whatever sins they committed, maybe they're more severe, and so they had to be punished longer in the underworld. But they still were trying to get vengeance, on him. So and eventually they did catch up to him. Okay, because actually he, he was in the temple, and then he left the temple, kind of, when he moved to another place, and then he didn't like the people there or whatever, and he kind of stayed away. He didn't really stay close to the temple, and that was their chance to get him. Okay, so they did get him, but anyway, so that's just one of the, you can say there's like timing issues and all sorts of different conditions, right? Okay, the other thing is, the longer we wait, the more severe the consequence. Now, usually. What we say is like a pound, like a pound for a pound, right? But if it takes too long, I mean, basically, the aggrieved, right? The karmic, the one who's wants to collect the debt, that they obviously don't want to wait so long, right? And so the longer it takes, then they're probably going to inflict greater, harm to us or whatever. So yeah, it's always better to try to resolve things sooner. Okay, resolve things sooner than later. I think we hear that also, like when we're eating meat, right? Usually, you eat 8 ounces, then you pay back half a pound, right? I think that's right. And then, but now I don't know. I've heard that it's more. Okay, so you eat 8 ounces or you eat half a pound of meat, and then you have to pay, I don't know, 2 or 3 times more now. So it's I guess there's interest too, you know, compounded interest or whatever. So, all right. So yeah, we want to resolve quickly to show our sincerity too, right? Basically, if we're trying to keep pushing it off, trying to put it off, say, oh, you know, I don't want to face this, I don't want to deal with it, whatever. That's not really being sincere, I guess. The sincerity is saying that, yes, I'm willing to pay off my debts. You know, I want to pay off my debts. Okay, so this is an attitude, right? We have to have a good attitude. If we don't have a good attitude, it's like the aggrieved, they're going to be, you know, even angrier at us and want to inflict more harm on us. Okay, so if we take this better attitude towards them and say, you know, apologetic attitude, repentant, and also even grateful in terms of wanting to pay back or having this opportunity to pay back the karmic debts, which is, I mean, we should. I mean, we're supposed to. We must pay back the debts. Okay, that's and so also it's up to us how we want to pay it back. Okay. You know, by being sincere, it can also, you know, it can influence them potentially, right? We can potentially touch touch their heart, you know, move their heart, you know, whatever. But it probably requires some real, I don't know, might say like sacrifice or whatever on our part. Okay, real true sincerity. So then, you know, that potentially can reduce their or diminish their grievances, and as a result, then the consequences can also be diminished. Okay, so yeah, that can happen too. Not in every case, of course, but it can happen. All right. Oh yeah, right. So yeah, I forgot. What I meant to mention was that yeah. So the reason why averting is probably not exactly the right. It's too narrow because averting means kind of like preventing. Okay, so yes, we can try to prevent as much as we can, but sometimes it's already happened. So the karmic consequence, the retribution, is already taking place, and so obviously we cannot prevent it, but we can try to mitigate and make it, you know, try to resolve it basically as best we can. Okay, so that's why this averting is probably not the right title to use here, but okay. But yeah, but you know, we would also try to quicken the resolution, and again, that our attitude is very important in that. Okay, so other things that we should also keep in mind is try to reduce risks. Don't take risks. Don't do risky things, because then that can reduce accidental disasters, ensuring that everyone is safe and sound. So like, because today, if you go outside without a mask, then that's taking a big risk. Okay, so that you don't think that I'm a good cultivator. I think I have a lot of merits. I have great virtue. Then I won't get sick. That's not true. Because it's not like the virus is gonna care. It's just that if you happen to breathe in the virus, you probably get sick. So therefore, we have to make sure we're not taking unnecessary risks. Okay, I say that karmic retribution is opportunistic. Okay, so because sometimes if we do take risks, that is setting up the conditions for the karma or the consequence to occur. All right, so we think that this car accident or some kind of accident, whatever, is just an accident, but it's really, from the karmic point of view, we say, well, it's the right person at the right place at the right time. Okay, so and that's why it happened. All right, so now obviously, okay, so we can avoid we avoid going out. Of course, if we avoid going out, then we won't get hit by a car. Okay, so that accident won't happen. So you can say that that's maybe part of the some condition that we can kind of be under control. So the risks, that's reducing risks is basically trying to narrow those conditions so that the consequence doesn't happen. Now, it doesn't mean that we can completely prevent it. Okay, so even if we're supposed to be hit by something, whether it's a car or something else, if we stay home, maybe a meteorite from space, hits us, crashes through our house and hits us, or something falling out of the sky, from plane. Yeah, it's happened. It's very rare, but it could happen. So we don't know. All right, but the point is that because this karmic retribution is opportunistic, it depends on the conditions, and so we don't want to present those conditions, make it easy for it to happen. Now, it's not to say that we don't want to pay. Okay, so here we also, again, that attitude, it's not that we don't want to pay back the debts. Okay, so we should have the attitude of saying, yeah, I do want to pay back debts, but please, I need more time. Say, I need more time to accumulate merits. Okay, so now, a holy teacher, he'll probably help us. If he sees that we're sincere in cultivating, then he can negotiate, right, with these aggrieved souls, spirits, and say, hey, this person, he's really doing his best. He's very sincere in cultivation, and he's progressing. And as soon as he has enough merits, we'll pay off some of his debts. Okay. But again, it all depends on us, right? Whether we're really sincere and whether we're really putting in the effort to cultivate. Okay, so that's holy teacher can't help us there, right? That's us. It's all up to us. Okay, only holy teacher can only try to negotiate, but he needs to have the things to negotiate with, right? So which is our merits and virtues. All right. Now, without the constraint of karmic debts, the path of cultivation can be smoother, of course, right? So if we can pay off, obviously we already have these karma, so we can't, well, so obviously, yeah, so we don't want to create any more, for one, and then we want to pay off what we have in the karmic debts. Once we pay those off, then obviously, we won't suffer those consequences anymore. And therefore, our path, the rest will be, for cultivation, will be much smoother. It won't be perfect, okay? But at least, there won't be those many obstacles, whether it's, a lot of times karma is like in the form of illness or disease. And those can be really debilitating and prevent us from cultivating. So that's a big thing. If we can get that out, not have that happen, or accidents where we suffer kind of a lifelong type of injury. So that's definitely very helpful. Then we can also concentrate more on our cultivation, and of course, just because we don't have the karma, don't have to deal with karmic consequences anymore, we still have to have tests. we will have tests. Okay, so these tests will be basically maybe testing our character, moral character, things like that. Okay, so what we've talked about before, in the 4 courses of cultivation, or the 5 requirements for returning to heaven. Okay, so all this type of testing will still happen. Okay, regardless of whether we have these karmic retributions. All right. Okay. Okay, so One key thing to remember is that nobody can take our place in suffering these karmic consequences. As much as I would have liked to suffer in the place of my mom when she was suffering from cancer, just can't do that. Okay, so this is the person whose karma it is, they have to suffer for it. Now, we can do things to help to kind of reduce it, and, by performing merits, by basically dedicating merits. Okay, so that is like the one, basically the main way to do that. Okay, but so this is something that keep in mind that no one can take our place. Now, okay, so let me talk about this. Here's a story. Okay, so this is a story from Buddha's time, right? Virudaka, he was this king from this neighboring, I forgot the name of the neighboring kingdom, and he decided to attack the Sakya clan, that's Sakyamuni Buddha's, his clan, in Kapila Vastu. Okay, so the story is that now Buddha, of course, he knew. Well, without getting into like the details of why he's attacking them, but basically he got angry before when he was a kid at them, because, well, anyways, and then so later on when he became king, he vowed that when he became king, he would go kill all the Sakya clan people. Okay, so but anyways, Buddha, he knew that he was coming to attack, to kill them. Now, so he kind of like appeared to on the road, I guess, or on the road between the two cities. Buddha was sitting under this tree, meditating, and I guess the protocol back then is that if you come across like a holy man like Buddha, you can't like go past him unless he lets you go past. And so basically, Virudaka, he's bringing his army, and he sees the Buddha. Now he actually, I guess he respects the Buddha. Okay, so he may have been like I don't know, really like a disciple, but a follower, the Buddha. And so, he sees them and he says, "Oh, what are you doing here?" and whatever. Then, he turns back. And so the next day, Buddha appears again under the tree, and, Virudaka comes with his army, and he sees, and he has to turn back again. So this happened, and the following day, the same thing. Now, Buddha realized that after that there was nothing much he can do to stop him, because he's still he's gonna keep trying. And so the Buddha realized that the karma, this karma it's going to happen. I mean, the consequence, whatever this karmic retribution is going to happen. Okay, so you can't really stop it. So on the fourth day, Virudaka comes, and he sees that the Buddha is not there. So he goes and tries. Basically, he's kind of surrounds the city of Kapila Vastu. Okay, the Sakya clan, and so he's kind of attacks. Now, of course, a lot of the Buddha's clansmen died in that. Now, his disciple, Buddha's disciple, one of his top disciples, Moggallana, okay, so he is the foremost disciple in having supernatural powers, okay. He used, so he thought he can try to save Buddha's clansmen. And so he kind of basically, using his superpowers, he kind of flew into the city and gathered up like 500 of Buddha's clansmen into his alms bowl. And you say, wow, that's impossible. But he has magic, basically. He has some special powers. Okay, so he can do that. And then he flew out. But upon checking his alms bowl after he got out, he finds that, in fact, the people that he collected turned into blood. Okay, so they all perished. So he wasn't able to save them. And he asked the Buddha why. Or the disciples asked Buddha why this happened. And the Buddha says, well, supernatural powers cannot defeat karma. Okay, so yeah, so that basically there's, if the karma, if it's meant to be, the consequence is going to happen, then, no matter what kind of power you have, it's not going to overcome it. Now, temporarily, you might be able to do something temporarily to avert it or delay, I would say, delay it. But you can't really completely get rid of it. Yeah, you can't get rid of it by this means. Again, the only way you can get rid of or pay back that debt is through merits. Okay, merits, virtues. Okay. Now, this you can say that this is a case of collective karma. Okay, so they have this collective fate. All those his Sakya clan. Now, basically, what Buddha then he talked about why or how this karma came about. And I don't know, there are like different variations of the story. Okay, so but basically, in some earlier time, there was a fishing village. Okay, and in this fishing village, the villagers, they caught all the fish. There was a pond there with fish, and they caught all the fish in that pond, and obviously they eat the fish. Now there was also a boy there who he saw a fish on the ground, and it's flopping around, and he took a stick and hit it 3 times. Okay. Now the other variations of the story says that it's just that the villagers, in getting the fish, they took pleasure in seeing that the fish, they caught the fish and the fish are dying. So that's another telling of that. But actually, it makes more sense that he hitting the fish 3 times. Basically, okay, so basically, you fast forward to the current Buddha's time, then all the people in that fishing village reincarnated as the Sakya clan, okay, including Buddha himself. So he was that boy, right? And the fish that were in that pond, they were all reborn into that as Viradaka, okay, and his soldiers, okay. So obviously they're coming to get their revenge for being killed and eaten in that earlier lifetime. Okay, so while Buddha's clansmen were being slaughtered, he also had suffered 3 days of headaches. Again, that was his payback for hitting that fish 3 times with a stick. Okay, so this is kind of interesting that so even the Buddha, he also suffered the consequence. He can't completely get away just because he's a Buddha, that he doesn't have to pay off these debts, right? Now, I don't know. There's I don't know, in the Chinese. See well, okay, I won't go into that. There's I don't know, again, the stories, depending on, I don't know who's telling the story, it could be slightly different. But anyways, all right. So that's an interesting thing. That collective karma, there's collective fate. So all of them, they all suffer together. So if we are part of some collective karma that we've committed in some past lives, then that typically would mean that we would all suffer that same fate in this life or in some future life. Okay, so so this, could happen like in a plane crash, a crash or some event that involves a lot of people together, that they suffer the similar fate. That is typically due to collective karma. Okay. Oh, yeah. This has nothing to do with this karma thing, but what I found is that, okay, so this first character here is fish. Okay, and if you guys use the Pleco app, you would know that's the that's the icon that it uses. And then this is the first time I saw this character, which is pronounced the same way, but it means to fish. So the first one's a noun, second one's the verb. But what's interesting is this one, the verb, also means to. It's basically you're taking something that doesn't belong to you, kind of like stealing. But which is kind of I thought was very very appropriate, because when you're fishing, you're taking stuff that's not yours. So I don't know. That's just an aside there. Okay, so you learn something new every day, right? Okay, now, so we have to rely on ourselves to avert karmic retribution. So what do we do? Well, practice precepts for one. The precepts usually, you start off with at least the basic, the 5 precepts, right? No killing, no stealing, no telling lies or falsehoods, no lust, and no intoxicants. Okay, so the killing, so basically that means that we definitely should do our best to be vegan or vegetarian. All right, so no, that's the killing part, right? We have to correct our faults, eliminate our temper. All right, we talked about this in the past couple of classes. This is our kind of our internal side of things, but this does affect us if our attitude, right? So that's part of our temperament, is not a good attitude. Maybe we'll suffer the retribution even more or whatever. So we have to have a good proper attitude. Okay, we want to act properly, of course, and it's for the good of others. In other words, so benefit others, not selfishly, not act selfishly. Keep in mind that we are never alone. Okay, so a lot of times maybe, because we don't see with our eyes, we don't see spirits. Spirits are around us. Okay, and there's especially for us, we are cultivators, and so we have these spirits like the Basalington, the reporting angel, right? So this. He will always report everything that we do to our holy teacher. Our holy teacher will know. Okay, so yeah. So don't think that this is just a little thing, thing that I'm doing. It's not a big deal, but the spirits know, and of course everything is recorded in our eighth consciousness, the Alaya consciousness. So and we are planting seeds. Okay, there. And so potentially we are planting the seeds of karma, right? So we have to keep that in mind. Just be careful. We have to sincerely hold to the Buddha nature and truly repent and rectify oneself. Okay, so yeah, so we can do like the daily bowing, the kato. Okay, now of course if you have a temple at home, you have a temple, then you'll be doing that every day. If you don't have a temple, you can still do the bowing. I mean, that's it doesn't have to be physically in a temple. It can be, you can do the bowing anywhere. Just don't do it in a bathroom or whatever. I mean, do it in an appropriate place. Dedicate merits from reciting the Maitreya Disaster Rescue Sutra, for example. That's another thing that we can do. Now, you can recite various sutras. But of course, this one is the the Sutra of the White Era. So this has, I guess, maybe a little bit more significance. And when we recite the sutras, ideally we are vegan or vegetarian at least, the day we're reciting it. So if we're not already, so you can have more effects. Because why? Because the merits, if we're going to dedicate these merits, who are we dedicating merits to? We're dedicating merits to those are karmic debt collectors, right? Because we want to pay off the debts. Okay, so are we? Of course, we can be doing this for other people as well, but if we're talking about averting our own karmic retribution, then of course, then they would apply to our karmic debt collectors. So dedicating, yeah, and we of course we have to be sincere when we're reciting these, and of course the more that we recite it, the better. And so why vegetarian or vegan? If we're not vegetarian or vegan, then the merits that we get from, or any merits that we get, are reduced. They're discounted. Okay, maybe 50%. Okay, so we have to work harder to get those merits, right? So that's why always, the seniors, everyone always encourages people to become vegetarian or vegan, because then the merits that we perform and accumulate are, maybe they're not discounted. Okay, so I don't know if that means that we have to take the vow. Okay, so ideally we take the vow. If we're not ready, obviously we have to kind of work our way to ultimately taking the vow. But in the meantime, yeah, do our best to be vegetarian or vegan. Okay. Now, when we're faced with karmic retribution, don't panic, and don't try to set conditions, meaning that we're trying to, you can say, I don't know, negotiating, say, oh, just let me do this, or whatever, and then or give me, we can't set any kind of conditions, okay? And then don't try to escape from it either. What we need to do is to double our sincere effort to perform merits and establish our virtues. Okay, so yeah, we don't want to, we shouldn't try to run away. Running away, again, we can't run away from it. That's the thing. So that's useless. But we don't want to have that kind of mentality either. And then don't panic. It's just that, yeah, we have to face it. We have to realize that this is this is deserved. Okay, so this is something that we deserve, and so but we have to be able to accept it. Again, try to be grateful if we can. Ideally, yeah, grateful. Be sincere and repentant, and sincere in wanting to pay it back. Okay, so be grateful, right? Yeah, definitely don't complain or resent, have any resentment about what's happening. Okay, that when that karmic retribution rears its ugly head. Okay, and do one's best to perform merits and fulfill one's vows. Yeah. Okay, so this is the constant refrain that you hear from us, but that's the truth. I mean, that's what we have to do. So again, take the vegan vow when you can. Ferry people, bring people to receive the Tao. Again, this doesn't mean you talk to, just go out and talk to strangers or hand out flyers. We don't do that. They have to have the affinity. Okay, they have to have that. I mean, that's one of the 3 conditions actually for people receiving the Tao, is that they have to have affinity. Okay, so if they don't have that affinity, yeah, then you just take a pass on them and move on. Spread the Dharma and teachings. Yes, we can talk about the Tao maybe not so directly. I mean, it depends on who we're talking to. We can talk about basically the advice. I got this advice from a transmitting master one time, that basically, yeah, just talk about the meaning of life. Talk about it from the point of view of life. Okay, about this Tao, and because that's what people can relate to. So that's the way, rather than going straight into the principles, or comparing it to religions, that people might get offended and say, that this is not, so kind of use the best way to kind of communicate with them about that. And then, if you want to go further, is you establish a temple yourself, like a home temple. This again, but this, there are requirements for this. You have to have taken the vegan vow, first of all. Okay, so and so this, and usually, you will have to have taken classes, things like that. But this could be, it depends. Okay. But again, this is, if we're talking about merits, yeah, this is, so the vegan vow will basically, although you don't necessarily get merits from doing this, but at least you're not creating a lot more karma. Okay. And, ferrying people, of course, there's merits there. But again, I'll talk about the true merits and blessings next. Okay. But, and then, of course, the teachings as well. And then establishing temple, that's also, merits, because a temple is meant for saving sentient beings. Okay. So it's not that I want to protect myself, so I establish a temple at home so that I can survive the nuclear holocaust. Okay, so it's really meant for, I mean, that's part of it, but it's meant for also, it's a place where sentient beings can be saved, right? They can receive the Tao there too. Okay, so now Holy Teacher talks about performing the 3 types of giving. We talk about material giving. He says it's like water in a well. Without drawing out the water, how can one fill the bucket? Okay, so yeah, we have to do it. We have to give. See, the more that you give, the more that we get. Okay, so of course it's different. It's like an exchange. Okay, we can give material things, and what we get back in return is, although it's immaterial, it's intangible, but it's better. Okay, so it's actually a good exchange. Dharma, the teachings, right? So after we ferry and encourage and mentor someone so that they are inspired to sincerely learn and cultivate the Tao, right? Their ancestors will forever be grateful. So it's important that when we do ferry people, in other words, bring them to receive the Tao, that afterwards, and ideally it's well, for as long as is needed, okay, that we keep encouraging and mentoring them until they are at a point where where they can kind of stand on their own in terms of cultivation. Okay, so make sure that they come to classes, come to temple, kind of get involved more, and it may take some hand-holding and further encouragement to do that, but that is really our duty as the introducer, bringing someone in to receive the Tao. We have that responsibility to make sure that they stay in the Tao. Okay, now obviously not everyone will do that, for whatever reasons, but we have to do our best. All right, and of course, so because their ancestors, right? They'll be grateful to us for doing this, for helping their descendant receive the Tao and cultivate the Tao. And so the spirits, the ancestors as spirits, potentially, they can help us too, when we're doing things. So because they want to see us succeed in helping their descendant. Okay. All right. And then fearless giving. Yeah, this is, fearless giving. That's the direct translation of the word, the Chinese word, but says willing to take on the duties and responsibilities increases one's opportunities to perform merits and fulfill vows. Okay, so we have to, so I guess you could say fearless in that don't be afraid to take on duties and responsibilities, because when we have those duties and responsibilities, that does increase our opportunities to be able to perform merits and fulfill our vows, right? So if we're not willing to take on any kind of responsibility or duties, then how do we fulfill our vows, right? So that's unfortunately, I see most people are kind of, they don't do this. They're not willing to, they're at least they don't take the initiative to want to do that. Okay, so sometimes you have to push them, and even then they're very reluctant. So that's something we have to get over that. All right. Okay, so in the face of tests or calamities, right, we don't want to seek out those who have supernatural powers, right? So in today's world, you have these various masters, okay, masters of whatever, whatever it's qigong or some kind of, they have some kind of abilities, maybe more supernatural abilities than just qigong. Now it's easy for humans to, when they are facing difficulties, things like that, they want to seek some kind of, they want to seek a resolution to that, and they'll look anywhere for it. Because maybe in the Tao, cultivation, well, it takes too long, or they don't see instant results, right? People want instant gratification, so they'll look for something else. But this is a dangerous path to take, and we should not look for any of that. And it's true that maybe they have the power to temporarily make things better for us, but then you probably end up following them. They are your master now, and that means that we've given up on our holy teacher as being our master. So and there's no guarantee, and therefore whoever these masters that have these powers, they cannot ensure that you can return to heaven, absolute heaven, transcend the cycle of life and death. Only holy teacher can do that. So we should not seek those out. We should actually be closer to the temple. Whether we have a temple at home or public temple, the seniors can, and try to come to the temple. Well, now they're closed, but when they open up, and whenever we have class, whatever, should come to the temple. Because actually in the temple, there's like, the Buddhas and saints, there's that Buddha light. Okay, the light of the Buddhas is here, and so we can also kind of benefit from that. The seniors, they can lead everybody in doing the bows and praying to Lamu, or God, for mercy, to help. We can also offer the holy water. Okay, which is from the altar, and also having a strong faith can help bring about some resolution. So we unfortunately, a lot of people, because they didn't have a strong faith to begin with, something bad that happened, it kind of shakes their faith, and they lose their faith. Okay, as a result, because they say, well, it's I'm cultivating, why did this happen to me? I don't deserve this, whatever. It just basically means that they don't have an understanding of karma and causality, and I guess they're not willing to accept it. So, but having that faith can definitely, faith, right? Faith is related to also sincerity. So having that faith and sincerity can help to bring about resolution to the karma. Okay, well, there's a story of this person called Xiaomei. Okay, so I think when she was like 6 years old, her mother got schizophrenia, and then I think when she was like 19, she became schizophrenic herself, and then her two brothers also became schizophrenic. So it was like a whole family of schizophrenics. And they tried all sorts of things. Eventually, the whole family converted to Buddhism, right? They thought that could help. Basically, now, so the father, he chanted sutras every day, every morning for an hour, hoping that the merits could help her, but it unfortunately did not. She went to one of these big Buddhist temples, Foguangshan, in Taiwan to study to be a nun. But unfortunately, she couldn't sleep for a week, and her condition got worse. So finally, they had to ask her to go home. At home, then she recited the name of Guanyin Bodhisattva and the Heart Sutra, and also participated in various repentances. Now, normally she was able to concentrate, but when she has one of these schizophrenic episodes, she just can't control it at all. So then, few years later, she went to another temple for help. The abbot treated her with some, I don't know, they call it the Great Compassion Water, some kind of their holy water. Okay, so this is from a Buddhist temple. He said that, well, I guess he could kind of maybe see her karma. So he said that, she owed this karmic debt from 9 lifetimes ago, right? So this is, so obviously it took a long time for this karma to catch up to her. And so she has to diligently cultivate, because when the karmic debt collector messes with her mind, right, there's nothing that anyone can do. The abbot told her to recite the Buddha's name, become a vegetarian, and drink that holy water. But unfortunately, none of that could suppress her condition. Then in the winter of, and then a couple of years later, basically one of her older brother kind of received the Tao, and he subsequently brought the whole family to receive the Tao. The brother taught her to use the 3 treasures, recite and do the repentance vows. And then after 2 years of doing this, not only did she recover, but her 2 brothers also fully recovered. Okay, so now this is, there's no guarantee that will work. Okay, and we have cases of Daokin, even like lecturers who have, I guess, this schizophrenic condition, and well, it's very serious. I mean, it's constant. Okay, it's not like you have a bout of it every now and then, but once she gets into it, it's like it's for months. Okay, and try all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't, and over many years hasn't really helped, and so it's not clear exactly. I mean, obviously, we can't rely so much on what other people can do for us. Okay, so they can only do so much. Okay, it's trying to dedicate merits to someone. It's not the same as doing those merits for yourself. I mean, you get the full merits when you do it for yourself, but when we're doing it for someone else, they probably don't get all those merits. Okay, so it really depends on us, ourselves, when we are suffering from this, that we have to do as much as we can, all right, and have that right attitude. Okay. All right. Okay, so just realize that our body is composed of the 4 false elements, right? So it's basically, I think it's wind, earth, fire, and water, I guess, or yeah. But anyways, this lecture talks about that a lot. But karma is also an illusion affecting the illusory body, which is interesting. So everything is kind of an illusion. The thing is that we believe that our body is real because of the 5 skandhas, right? And so then everything, once we believe that is real, then everything becomes real. Okay, so seems real, anyways. But ultimately, from the Buddha nature, it's all illusory. It's all an illusion. Okay, because it's all created from the Buddha nature, really. All right. So Lamu, God says, to cultivate Tao, we must know the true path that we came from. Otherwise, how can we return? So we have to know that we came from, the absolute heaven, and we have to know that how to go back, right? So it's the Tao by way of the Tao and the cultivation in the Tao, right? So Vipassana Buddha, this Vipassana Buddha is each cycle, or at least in this current cycle, there were 10 Buddhas. Okay, so the Vipassana Buddha is the first Buddha in terms of in helping humanity kind of get on their feet, so to speak. All right, so he says the body comes from formlessness, like an illusion, giving rise to form. Illusions of the mind are empty. Sins and blessings are also empty. Right, so everything is this illusory, this form. Right, the formlessness is basically the essence. Essence has no form, and yet that's where the body comes from. Okay, so it is an illusion, and the mind, illusions of the mind. Yeah, so everything that we can imagine in our mind, see in our mind, whatever, that's also all empty. So if we can treat everything as such, then the sins and blessings are also, we see them as also empty. So it's not. We see sins and blessings, right? So these are it's kind of like a duality, but everything's all empty, right? So the sixth patriarch says, all right, the lost or confused person does not cultivate the Tao, but believes that cultivating karmic blessings is the way, right? Getting endless blessings from making offerings. The three evils of poisons originally arise from the heart and mind. Okay, wishing to eliminate the sins, descendants get the blessings, but still have sins. Only true and sincere repentance and proper conducts can remove the sins. So this is the part I'm getting into, which is the difference between the karmic blessings and true merits. Okay, so I'll be talking about that. But basically, most people in what we say cultivating, in the lower vehicle and the middle vehicle, that's what they're seeking is karmic blessings, right? By chanting and things like that. They're just seeking a better future life, okay? Blessings in the future life or in the future. Vimalakirti says the nature of sin is originally empty, but is created by the heart and mind. If the heart and mind is destroyed, then sin is also destroyed. Yeah, so we have to get rid of this dualistic heart and mind. Then if we can get rid of that, the human heart and mind, basically getting rid of it means that we manifest the Buddha nature, the true nature. Okay, so when we manifest the true nature, then it's a non-dualistic thing, and we will not create karma. So we won't create the sins. All right. Okay, so talking about these true merits and karmic blessings. So many cultivators are still attached to or fixated on forms, right? So how many, they might ask, how many people have you ferried, right? How much merit have you performed? I say, I ferried or mentored these people, right? These people these are my people, right? They're under me. They follow me, right? Or I donated, X amount of money or time and effort, or I gave, conducted this number of classes. Okay, so these are all having attachments to forms, right? Either it's usually there's talking about some quantity, which is a form. Okay, so. And so this is what happens when we perform. I can't say performing merits now. I have to say when we perform good deeds, that potentially could be merits or it could be karmic blessing. Depends on whether we have the attachments or not. Okay. Now, Holy Teacher says, right? disciples, can you say that all your achievements are due to your own ability, right? In carrying out Tao affairs, ferrying people, pioneering the Tao, etc. The success all depends on heaven's mandate and the golden thread, and the mercy of the Buddhas and saints. In carrying out universal salvation, whether visible or not, it is all due to support from the Buddhas and saints. So don't think that, oh, we're so great. I brought 1,000 people in to receive the Tao. That's all due to my ability. Wrong. It's the Buddha and saints, heaven. The problem is, we only see the surface. What we don't see, what's happening in the background, so to speak. There's a lot more happening there than what we can see. And so don't be too proud. Don't become, so like arrogant. We have to be humble. It's always, if we've done a lot of these good things, we should always thank the grace of heaven, okay, and the virtues of the masters, because it's without them, we could not have done it. All right. Okay. So let's see. On the other hand, in terms of the six. The karmic blessings. Okay, so attached to forms and cultivating blessings. Blessings are limited and can be exhausted. So they can be used up, right? So this is, right. So as long as when we are attached to any forms, then that's what we're cultivating is karmic blessings. Okay, so even though, again, if we're doing the same deed, performing the same deed, if this is our attitude or we have these attachments, then what we're getting is karmic blessings and we're not getting true merits. Okay, so now to know that blessings are limited and they'll be used up. And we get our blessings in the future or in a future life, right? So that means reincarnation. Okay, so when used up, the retributions will catch up to us, right? So this is where sometimes we see people, it's like we see, well, in this life, they're bad people, let's say, but they're they have such a good life, okay? Because in a previous life, they've had these karmic blessings, and even though maybe they have done some bad things in the past, and of course, all we've seen is the current life. What they're doing now is planting the seed for the future. So, but what they're getting now is what they planted the seeds in the past. So we can't kind of judge based on that. Blessings do not enable us to transcend life and death, right? Because we still have an attachment ultimately to the ego, right? That's what the I, it's like I did this, I did that, whatever. So we have to let go of that attachment. When we have no attachment to the ego, then everything that we do is true merits. Okay, so basically performing merit without attachments, okay, or performing deeds without attachments. True merits have no limit because it is in accord with the Tao and also our true nature. It's basically, see, this is why, you can't really quantify these true merits. And this is where basically it becomes virtue. It's part of virtue. So that's part of ourselves. Okay, so if you remember, like in the Seven Taoist Masters, right, the immortals, right, they said, what we have, no one can take from us, right? So it's our virtues and merits that no one can steal from us. I mean, that's a part of us that will always be, that we are, we are, that is us. Okay, so, so who would have thought that our true nature has everything it needs, right? That everything comes from it. Okay, so basically we don't need anything external, really. Okay, so after performing merit, forget the act and the deed, right? So so this is where we cannot have an attachment to that merit either, right? So once it's done, it's done. Don't keep thinking about it, and don't keep mentioning it, right? Otherwise, that could become a blessing. Okay, so as opposed to a true merit. True merits can enable one to transcend life and death because it contains wisdom and no ego, right? So, so ultimately, ultimately, really everything, so we didn't really necessarily gain anything from the outside. It was already within us. All right? We already have it. That's what it says. We have everything that we need. The true nature has everything it needs. There's nothing more for it to get from the outside. Okay. Holy Teacher says, right, today we must realize that if we have attachments, can we have true merit? And they respond, no. Right? What is, this is the Chinese words that we use, gongde, okay, true merit. Looking at the two words separately, we can say that the first refers to external merits and the second refers to internal virtues. If a person knows only to perform external merits, but does not know to nurture internal virtues, then it is called merits without flow. Okay, so this is very important that when we cultivating, right, we talk about the internal and the external, and we have to do both. Okay, and we can't, we can't just do the external stuff, performing deeds, that kind of stuff, because if our virtues are not good enough, then there's what we call there's outflow. And so the merits, there's a leakage, okay, of the merits. In other words, you can't retain the merits, right? So that's why it's very important to, if we had to, cultivate one or the other, cultivate the internal first. Okay, so, but again, we do need the external because we do need that to offset our karmic debts. So we can't just do one. All right. Okay. So this is an example of this merits thing, right? The famous story of the Emperor Liang Wudi. Right? He asks about merits. He's asking Bodhidharma. So he says, since becoming emperor, I have built monasteries and given unsurpassed support to the monks. How much merit do I have? And Bodhidharma says, oh, you have no merit. And so he says, well, why is there no merit? This is only a small achievement because there's outflow, like a shadow, which is not real. So again, his what he thought was true merits was actually had an outflow. Okay, so because internally he didn't cultivate internally very well. All right, so what is true merit? Perfect wisdom and immaterial body is true merit. It is not obtained in the material world. Yeah, so it's not something that you get from the outside. What is the fundamental truth of Buddhism? Vast emptiness. Okay, who are you? I do not know. This sounds like kind of like a Zen koan, but we have to learn to let go, right? Basically, Bodhidharma is pointing out that the emperor was really too full of himself, right? He has an ego, right? He has a strong attachment to that ego. But actually, Bodhidharma wanted to, and in his answers, he's just saying that he has no attachment at all, right? The Bodhidharma doesn't. But he came seeking the emperor. He wanted to save him, actually. He thought maybe perhaps he can be next patriarch, but he also he wanted to save him because he knew what his karma was. So actually he had some karma. In the previous life, the Emperor Wu, he was a monk. He was cultivating in the mountains, and he grew his own food. But there was also a monkey there on that mountain who kept stealing his food. So one day he wanted to teach the monkey a lesson, right? So he trapped it in a cave and blocked the entrance. Then after a few days later, he checked up on the monkey and discovered that he died. Okay, so probably starved to death. So now in this life, okay, so now he's the monk, he's now the emperor. But that monkey reincarnated as a general, Hojing, who actually usurped his throne, okay, from the Emperor Wu. Now, he captured the emperor and kind of basically put him under house arrest. And eventually, or at least the story goes that he starved to death. So basically, the same fate that, he caused the monkey, so the monkey came back and kind of caused the same fate on him. So that's also the karma thing, right? That he couldn't escape, I guess. Okay. All right, finally. Okay, so karmic retribution, it's not a fluke, okay? It's not happen randomly. It doesn't happen by accident, okay? it's always justified by a cause. There's definitely a cause that that's behind it. All right, there's a reason. Do not think that a little sin, etc., will also go unnoticed. Again, every little thing that we do is recorded. All right, so now they might not end up being, have serious karmic consequences, but still, we could be creating karma. Chief Examiner of Three Realms, he says, cultivation is a personal family affair and does not involve others. If we do not cultivate and the karmic payback catches up to us, who can save us, right? So again, this is our biggest, the thing that we have to keep in mind all the time is that we have to cultivate ourselves if we want to overcome our karma. No one really can help us, okay? I mean, we can ask for help, but whatever, ultimately, I would probably, 90% depends on us, okay? So at least, all right? So be diligent, but perform merits according to our ability, all right? So we don't, we do our best, and we have to sincerely and diligently do our best, okay? And then, and finally, Holy Teacher says, only true merits and virtues can offset karmic debts, right? Cultivating the great Tao is both easy and difficult. It is because of us in heaven. If we do not accumulate hidden merits and virtues, demons will create obstacles. Now, when we say hidden merits, it means we're not like advertising that, we perform merits. So usually, it's like in the Bible, it says, don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing or whatever. So when we do things, we don't have to let people know. We don't have to let everyone know, just because it's all recorded anyway. So there's no need. Again, the fact that if we want to let people know, then that's, again, our ego. All right. So we have an attachment. Okay, so people may laugh at cultivators and even insult or harass them. This has the effect of reducing karmic retribution. So the more, the better. So, anytime we also say that, like maybe if we're in a temple and we get scolded by the seniors, that we should accept that. We should take that, and because that is reducing our karmic retributions. Okay, so anytime that happens, so we might think that we're being laughed at or we're being taken advantage of, but those are actually beneficial to us. Okay, so right, so yeah, okay, that's it. All right, sorry, it took a little long. Okay, so if I had said anything wrong or not well enough, I asked the Buddhists for forgiveness and also the corrections from transmitting masters and lectures. Thank you.